Hey everybody, Ryan Mosier here, back with Throwin Mitts. I am so excited for this UFC 278 pay-per-view event Saturday, August 20th in Salt Lake City. We've got a special episode for you here. Our first guest, other than Brad Miller, going to be Joe Money, my friend. I'm really excited. This is going to be a great episode. We're going to have a lot of fun. Maybe he doesn't know the most about UFC, but that's what this show is all about, is building a community, creating more connections, and getting more people into the sport. So everyone, give a warm welcome to my friend, Joe Money. Yeah, baby.
What's going on, guys? What's going on?
Right, dude.
Happy to be here.
Yes, dude, I'm so excited. This is going to be great. There's an amazing event ahead of us, the UFC 278, Kamaru Usman versus Leon Edwards. It's going to be a blast. What do you think this being your first time on the show, Joe Money?
So my first time being on a podcast, all in general. It's a good feeling, seeing one of my childhood best friends grow up and, talk about some UFC.
Something I enjoy, something I'm actually passionate about. That's really what it comes down to, and it's all in the name of fun. So what do you say we get right into it, my friend?
Let's just dive right in head first.
So essentially I'm going to make a pick after going through all of the stats, and really it's my intuition and what I see in the stats, and about these the fighters' previous matchups, that ultimately is going to have me make the decision on who I think is going to win the fight. So don't feel pressured at all to agree with me. If anything, argue with me. I don't care. But I.
Darn.
but what I do want you to do is somehow, one way or another, maybe on your phone or something, but keep track of your picks. So after the event, potentially we could come back here and talk about how we did. How's that sound?
Sounds perfect.
Fantastic, folks. Well, we're going to get right into it. Getting into this UFC 278. We're going to pull up the screen here. Hope everybody can see this. And all right, the first matchups, as you know how this show goes, we're going to start with the main event on the main card, just so everyone can get a little taste of what we think is going to happen in the main event. And then we will slowly but surely head back to the prelims, okay? So the first matchup, the minus 380 favorite, Kamaru Usman versus number 2, Leon Edwards in a welterweight title bout. This one's going to be great. But honestly, after looking at the numbers a little bit, I think we're going to have a clear winner. So let's get into it. Kamaru Usman debuted July of 2015. He is a freestyle fighter. He's on a 19-fight win streak, Joe Money. Now, how's that sound? Four title defenses coming into this. Leon Edwards debuted November of 2014, and he is an all-around mixed martial artist. Looking at the matchup stats, Kamaru Usman, like I said, the 19-fight win streak comes into this one 20-1. And Leon Edwards, 19 wins, 3 losses, and 1 no contest. Both coming off of wins in their last fight. And I will say, for some of you who have been keeping track, the UFC website actually changed their layup a little bit. So you're going to see me kind of navigating through different parameters, but we're going to get through it. And this is going to be the MO nowadays. So getting into the significant strike numbers, 4.66 landed per minute at a 52% significant strike rate for Usman. The absorb per minute looks great, 2.59. Joe, absorb per minute is how many punches they're taking over a minute. So those lower numbers is what you're going to want to see there. And Usman's defense looking at a 58%. Now for Leon Edwards, 2.62 at a 49% significant strike rate. That's not bad at all. But compared to Kamaru Usman's 4.6 at a 52% significant strike rate, it looks, less significant, but it's really not. I do think Leon Edwards is a great fighter. The absorb per minute is actually less than Usman's, but both very similar. Getting into the grappling numbers here, you know what grappling means, right?
Yeah, like wrestling around on the ground and smacking each other around a little bit.
Getting hot and sweaty, my friend. Takedown average over 15 minutes for Usman, 3 at a 49% takedown accuracy and 100% takedown defense. He hasn't been taken down, which is, pretty stellar over, a 19 fight win streak. 1.48 takedown average over 15 minutes for Leon Edwards at a 35% takedown accuracy, with his takedown defense being 70%. Now, those aren't bad numbers, although Usman does take the cake in this category, as well as, in my opinion, the significant strike category. So this main event, it's exciting. Leon Edwards is a good fight, but for me personally, Kamaru Usman is just absolutely incredible. He is an astounding fighter. And for this one, I think he's going to take the win. What do you think, Joe?
Well, I don't watch too much UFC but from based on the stats matters, at the end of the
Certainly.
day. He's got 100% takedown defense. That is insane.
Yep.
Especially for a main event fighter. It's going to be hard. I'm kind of going with Usman on this one just because it's kind of going to be hard to break a 19 win streak.
Damn right.
And, he has double, landed per minute punches. So
you're damn right, dude. I like that take. This is one I do not look at you any differently for agreeing with me on this one here. That one seems like it's going to shake out pretty, cookie cutter.
Definitely.
But, okay, so we got Usman in the first main event fight, and that brings us to the co-main here between Paulo Costa and Luke Rockhold. Paulo Costa coming in at the number 6 ranked fighter in the middleweight division. He is the minus 315 favorite to Luke Rockhold, the plus 260 underdog. Costa debuted March of 2017. He is a striker, and he's got 11 wins by knockout coming into this one. Luke Rockhold debuted January of 2012. He is an all-around mixed martial artist, and he's got 8 wins by submission. So we see kind of, a striker versus somebody who has the ability to submit. But don't get it twisted. Luke Rockhold can throw the mitts as well. Getting into the numbers here, Paulo Costa comes into this one with 13 wins, 2 losses. And Luke Rockhold, 16 wins, 5 losses. Costa coming into this one with a loss in his last fight. Looking at the significant strike numbers. Now, this is where it gets interesting, Joe. Look at this, 6.85 landed per minute at a 59% significant strike rate. That's a lot. But then you looked at that absorbed per minute, 7.02. Now, that's a lot for anybody, for me at least, to be comfortable with picking them. Mm-hmm. But we're going to look a little bit at Rockhold's here. 4.18 landed per minute with a 48% significant strike rate. His absorbed per minute, 2.43, which is insurmountably better than what Costa is showing here. And, of course, his defense follows at a 56% to Costa's 48%. So, in my eyes, I want to say, you got to look at the volume, though, of Costa. 6.85 landed per minute at a 59% significant strike rate. That is a lot. And when you're throwing that many punches with that much volume, of course you're going to leave yourself open to, 7.02 absorbed over the minute, which is just very high. Let's look at the grappling here. 0.21 takedown average over 15 minutes for Costa and a 0.67 for Rockhold. Now, that makes me think this fight is going to stay on the feet. You know what I'm saying? Neither of these guys are too eager to take it to the ground. So it could be really interesting. But one thing I will look at here is down at the submission average, 1.12 over 15 minutes for Rockhold. There's a big fat 0 for Costa. That concerns me a little bit,
And I can see why it concerns, because if it's a 0 submission average, that means, if he gets taken down, it seems like he's done, So this fight has to be a standing fight, If they can use straight hands, it will be definitely a great fight. But I do believe if it goes to the ground, I believe Rockhold will have this one. He just naturally looks bigger. And, size doesn't matter in a fight by all means. But, if your takedown accuracy, is, well,
you got to see Costa, he's got a higher takedown accuracy because he only's attempted barely one, you know what I mean? While, even Rockhold has tried barely once. And not succeeded as much. So that's why he's got a little bit less. But
Mhm.
and then what is important with what you're talking about here is if it goes to the ground, Costa could be done. Well, look at that takedown defense, 80% for Paulo Costa. So
they both have very, very good takedown defenses because, that's 68%. That's still over, halfway. So,
right.
he's over on the better side in the takedown defense. So, if it does go to the ground, that it might be tough for it to go to the ground just because they both have higher than 50% takedown defense. And
Certainly. And so at that point, I go back to the significant strikes. If it's going to stay on the feet, which I think it will, because again, if it does go to the ground, Costa has the disadvantage. Look at his takedown. Look at Rockhold's takedown average over 15 minutes. He's not
right.
too eager to take it to the ground either.
Mhm.
So that's where I look at the significant strikes here, and I'm like, okay, who's going to win this battle on the feet?
Well, 6.85, my fault. 6.85 landed per minute is tough to, just do defense again
Yeah,
in general,
yeah, with that kind of volume coming at you.
Yeah. And if he's landing over almost 7 punches per minute, he has to be quick.
True.
It's just not normal, from my understanding.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think, what, Costa again? That was his
Yeah.
last name.
Yep.
My bad.
You
So
got it.
I do have Costa. The 6.85 landed per minute is impressive.
Straight up. And at the end of the day, that absorbed per minute 7.02 is a lot, but his defense is still at 48%. Rockholds is 56, which is significantly much more. But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, I'm going to have to agree with you, Joe Money. I got Paulo Costa in this one because at the end of the day, what I've seen is, Luke Rockhold debuted January of 2012. You know what I'm saying? He's been in the game for a long time, my friend.
That what is that,
He's
10 years?
Yeah, exactly. He's 37 coming into this fight. Costa, um, I know he's not 37. He is 31 coming into this one. So he's got the age on the time on his side. Costa does, and his time is now. Luke Rockhold had his time. He's holding on to faded glory. He
Mhm.
used to be, well, he's still a big time fighter, but he used to be a menace. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
So, me personally, I'm going to have to agree with you here and go with Paulo Costa in the co-main event for UFC 278.
And I think him coming off of a loss, that's going to drive him more to just, knock this guy out, give him his sixth
Certainly.
loss.
Yeah, and I've seen Costa in a dogfight, dude. Like he is a dog. You know what I'm saying? Like he's
Mhm.
relentless. He doesn't give up. I mean, you saw that 6.8, landed per minute. He just throws the mitts and he does not stop. So again, Paulo Costa gonna take the win there, and that leads us into a bantamweight bout between number 3 Jose Aldo and number 6 Merab
So if you don't mind me,
Devalovic.
if you don't mind me asking, what is bantamweight? Is that like middleweight or like the smallest?
I'm gonna get the exact number. Um, Bantamweight, uh, it's in between flyweight and featherweight. Ranges from 112 to 118 pounds.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So
You said that's bantamweight? These guys are 135.
okay, yeah. Let's see here. In mixed martial arts, it is okay. The UFC specifically bantamweight division is 126 between 135, between 126 and 135.
Nice.
Okay. And a little bit about these fighters. Jose Aldo debuted April of 2011. Holy shit. He is a jiu-jitsu specialist with 17 wins by knockout. So what I see there is a jiu-jitsu specialist with 17 wins by knockout. He's comfortable on the mat and on his feet. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
Merab coming into this one debuted December of 2017. Again, just like the last matchup, we have, some of these older fighters who used to be, I mean, look at Jose Aldo's record, 31-7. That is a lot of time in the octagon, no doubt.
Most definitely.
Merab is a freestyle fighter on a 7-fight win streak coming into this one. So again, just like the other fight, his time is now. Looking a little bit into this one, Jose Aldo, like I said, 31-7. Merab, 14 wins, 4 losses, both coming off of wins in their last fight. Getting into the significant strikes here, we have 3.61 landed per minute at a 46% significant strike rate for Aldo at a 3.74 absorbed per minute. That 3.74 is good. That's a good low number. But compared to Merab's 4.26 at a 41% significant strike rate, and his absorbed per minute is lower at 2.28. I see Merab taking the advantage on the feet here with those numbers.
From what I'm seeing right now, it looks pretty even all around. You said I forgot their names again. Red Shorts debuted in see that name is out of my vocabulary.
It's Devalishvili.
Devalishvili.
Yep, there you go. And again, we're not, we're trying our best, and it's no disrespect to these fighters. When we hear them live on the broadcast, we will correct it and we won't get it wrong again. But for this time being, it's all a learning experience, and people got to understand that.
Most definitely. So, see, Aldo, you said he came in 2011, and you said Duvall started in 2017. So what I'm looking at is experience versus speed.
Yep.
From what I'm seeing right here. This young cat, 2017. You said he's won 7 out of 7 of his last fights. You said
yes, he's on a 7-fight win streak.
And then the other guy's on a 19 win streak.
No, he's got 17 wins by knockout.
Okay. So he's pretty good on the standing side. So when he won those 7 out of the last, were they by submission or were they by knockout?
Let's go ahead and take a look here at Merab Devalishvili. So he's got 3 wins by knockout, 1 win by submission, and that makes me believe the rest were by decision.
I mean, 17 knockouts, throughout, even back from 2011 till now, he's been in the ring more. At the end of the day, it's, in my opinion, about fighting. It's more about experience.
Well, let's take a look at these grappling numbers. It could, because they are so even with the striking and on the feet here. Let's take a look at the numbers and see what's going on with the grappling. And this is where Merab takes the cake. 7.3 takedown average over 15 minutes at a 45% accuracy, and his takedown defense is 78%. Just 0.5 takedown average over 15 minutes at a 54 takedown accuracy for Aldo. Although his takedown defense is 90%, which is impressive over 40 fights, professionally. That is incredible. The submission average, both very similar in being low numbers. What do you think here, Joe?
Well, like I said before, it's all about experience. You have 90% takedown defense. Like, that is crazy. I do see this fight. I don't see very much grappling, just because they both have very high takedown defense.
Yeah.
I believe Aldo's going to take this one with a KO.
Nice. All right. You know what? That's a great take, Joe. I actually really like that take. But I'm going to have to go with Merab in this fight, and I guess we will have to see what happens on Saturday, August 20th in Salt Lake City to see who's right about that one, okay?
Yes, sir. I'm writing down all my picks. I don't want nobody to think that I'm just typing while he's talking.
Straight up. Getting right into the next one, we have a women's bantamweight bout between Wu Yanan and Lucy Pudialova. Wu Yanan is the plus 110 underdog, and Lucy the minus 130 favorite coming into this fight. A little bit about these fighters. Wu Yanan debuted November of 2017. She is on a 3-fight losing streak, Joe Money. Lucy Pudialova debuted in March of 2017, and she is on a 4-fight losing streak, Joe Money. What do you think about that?
So they're both on 4-fight losing, or 3 and 4, correct?
Yeah, they're both on losing streaks.
So this is gonna be a dogfight, honestly. If they're
I
both,
agree.
taking multiple losses,
Well,
they're both gonna be hungry for this win at the end of the day.
they're both on the chopping block. This is basically a fight to see who gets cut. You know what I'm saying? They're both at the
Definitely.
point where it's like the loser, goes home permanently. A little bit about these fighters. Wu Yanan, 12 wins, 5 losses coming into this fight. And Lucy, 8 wins, 6 losses. Wu Yanan coming off of a loss, obviously, because I said she was on a losing streak. Looking at the significant strike numbers, 4.42 landed per minute at a 40% significant strike rate. Compared to Lucy's 4.15 at a 36% strike rate, which I do not like. 40% is like the lowest I like to see in a significant strike rate percentage. When you get down into the 30s and the 20s, I mean, especially when you're only throwing 4 per minute, it's not a good look. The absorb per minute here is going to go in Lucy's favor, 4.09 to Wu's 5.05. So Lucy takes the advantage in the stand-up defense there, although her volume is not as good as Wu Yanan's. Getting into the grappling numbers here, the takedown averages for both of these women does not even hit 1. The takedown accuracy, 12% for Lucy and 30% for Wu Yanan. And both of these women's takedown defense is pretty good. So again, this is a fight where I don't see it going to the ground. I think, just like you said, both of these girls are hungry. They need to make a statement if they want to stay with this promotion. One of these ladies needs a knockout. And so I think this fight will be taken care of on the feet. And truthfully, just because the stats here are so close and both of these women are on losing streaks, this isn't one of my most anticipated fights. So I think I got to go with Wu Yanan in this one, just because at the end of the day, the landed per minute and she's got a higher significant strike rate percentage. And of course that's going to leave her open. But I think she's hungrier. I think she's got more drive. And it's also the matchup stats. Lucy's overall professional record is 8-6 to Wu Yanan's 12-5. She's got more experience in the octagon. And I think that's going to pay off in a dogfight like this one.
I'm going to have to agree with you. I'm going to have to, pick her as well. She just, 8-6 isn't really a great record for a professional fighter, so
Right.
12-5 is not that great either, but it's better than 8-6, which, like, 8-6, she's almost losing, it's almost a 50%. Like, is she gonna lose? Is she gonna win? 12-5 is pretty good, there's
Certainly.
a good 80% chance she's gonna win. Like you said, I don't believe it's going to be a takedown fight. They don't look like they're very much grapplers. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Wu. And goodbye, Lucy. It was good. It was good seeing you in the UFC and all.
And everybody, Joe spent a lot of time on the yard with them gorillas. So at the end of the day, he knows what he's talking about when it comes down to fights, especially with women.
Women gorillas.
Women gorillas, and that leads us to our next fight, the very first card of what will be the main card in UFC 278, a light heavyweight bout between the minus 740 favorite Tyson Pedro and the plus 540 underdog Harry Hunsucker. Let's take a look at this one, folks. Tyson Pedro debuted November of 2016. He is an all-around mixed martial artist, and he's got 5 wins by submission. Harry Hunsucker coming into this one debuted March of 2021, and he is a jiu-jitsu specialist. And I will say, his hometown is Painesville, USA. That's just a fun fact about Harry Hunsucker here. He's got 4 wins by submission. So this could be, I think this one's going to be really interesting. I'm excited to see this one, although I've got a clear winner. But let's go over the numbers here. The matchup stats. 8 wins, 3 losses for Tyson Pedro coming into this one. 7 wins, 5 losses for Harry Hunsucker. Pedro coming off of a win in his last fight. Hunsucker a loss. Getting into the significant strikes here. 2.89 landed per minute at a 64% significant strike rate. 3.83 at a 52% significant strike rate for Hunsucker. The absorbed per minute is astronomically better for Tyson Pedro here. 2.36 to Hunsucker's 6.7. And he's not even throwing that much volume. So that makes me believe, because if you're being aggressive and you're throwing punches, of course, you're going to leave yourself open to get caught once in a while. But Definitely. He's got a lot lower landed per minute and a way higher absorbed per minute. So not what I like to see when picking fights here. Looking at the grappling numbers, slim to none between these guys. The takedown average is 0.6 for Pedro, 0 for Hunsucker. Although Pedro's takedown accuracy is at a 25% rate, and his takedown defense 52. But what's really interesting about that, Joe, is their takedown averages are so slim. But look at their submission averages: 2.39 for Harry Hunsucker, 1.31 for Tyson Pedro. It's pretty bizarre in this case. You would think if they have submission averages that high that they would be actively taking people down and making that a point, but it doesn't seem to be the case. So if it does go to the ground, it's going to be very interesting. Obviously, Pedro has, more wins by submission than Hunsucker by 1. But if this stays on the feet, I think Tyson Pedro takes the cake here. And honestly, again, this fight is going to be interesting just because I know it's going to end it with a finish. But in all reality, I think this one clearly goes to Tyson Pedro, hence why he's the minus 740 favorite, which is a lot, Joe. Are you familiar with betting lines?
In a way, but I couldn't sit here, and explain it as great and deeply as you can, of course.
So I'll tell you this. If these fighters were, if Tyson Pedro was minus 115 and Harry Hunsucker was plus 105, that means it's very even. It's a very close fight. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And also I'll tell you this, betting lines only. Your mom's flight got canceled.
Okay.
She's here.
Okay.
Yeah. Betting lines. This just in. Breaking news. You can go at any time if you need to, Joe.
No, that's good. My mom was just here this weekend. Her flight got canceled again. So she's here once again.
Well, I will say we're getting through these at a good rate. We still have another 25, 30 minutes, but all should be well. Hey, she's a grown woman. She can wait. Am I right?
Yeah. Oh, most definitely.
I'm kidding. Hey, Tiffany, I love you. But back to the lines. Now, when you see even like a minus 300 favorite is when things start to get a little out of hand. I mean, because at the end of the day, this is MMA, Joe. This is mixed martial arts. One punch is all it takes. One wild punch could catch Tyson Pedro and knock him out. So for him to be the minus 740 favorite is actually bizarre. It's like absolutely crazy. And I'll tell you this, Harry Hunsucker being the plus 540 underdog, that means even putting $50 on Harry Hunsucker, I mean, that's still a lot in my eyes. I would put maybe $20. If he catches him with a wild punch, I mean, you're getting a good return there. So that's a little bit on the lines, but just seeing a line that large, minus 740, is absolutely bizarre.
So it looks like I'm gonna agree with you, and I'm gonna take Pedro as well. Hunsucker, if you go back to the submission and everything, how it was 0 takedown defense and all that stuff, see the submission average. It looks like he just catches somebody in a submission, maybe luckily, like if somebody would throw a false punch, he can just wrap them up right under their neck. That's what it's looking like to me, because his takedown average is 0. His takedown accuracy is also 0.
And his takedown defense is also 0 too. So that means he's not stopping anybody from taking him down. That's why he's on the ground. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So from what I'm seeing, Hunsucker, he's a big boy. He looks like he's a heavy hitter, all that. He just doesn't seem fast enough for Pedro.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna take Pedro in this one,
I
because
like it.
it's all there. It's all there. The takedown defense is at 52% over half, compared to 0. His submission average might not be as much, but he has numbers, as you can see on here on the grappling, and
And if I
he
see
has
it,
numbers.
if I see at least one submission average, I know that at least he's well rounded and he understands the ground game. You know what I mean? He's
Hmm.
comfortable. He's not completely shit out of luck if he's caught on the ground. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
We won't spend too much more time on that fight because, again, it is very cookie cutter. I think we know who's going to win that one. And that has been the coverage of UFC 278's main card, everybody. Thank you all. And if you really like what we got going on here, like, comment. That's going to help push this video around the algorithm, which really helps us and we appreciate very much. And if you want to be involved in this community, subscribe. You can follow us on Twitter as well, under Mitts_Throwin. And we have a lot of fun there, talking and a lot of highlight plays on the fights there. So everyone go check that out. Thank you so much. And that leads us into our prelim coverage here. Getting into it, we have a heavyweight bout between Marcin Tybura and Alexander Romanov. Now, this one's going to be fun. Marcin Tybura, the plus 370 underdog, versus Alexander Romanov, the minus 460 favorite. Back to back, Joe. We have minus 460 favorite. I mean, that is absolutely bizarre, but well-deserved for Alexander Romanov, coming into this one 16-0, undefeated as a professional MMA fighter. He debuted April of 2020. His fight style is a wrestler, and he's got 9 wins by submission. Marcin Tybura debuted April of 2016, and he is an all-around mixed martial artist. Tybura coming into this one, 22 wins, 7 losses. Again, I said Alexander Romanov undefeated with 16-0. Tybura coming off of a loss in his last fight. And getting into the significant strikes here, 3.65 landed per minute with a 49% significant strike rate for Tybura. 2, Alexander Romanov's 4.23 at a 52% significant strike rate. And look at that. His absorbed per minute, 1.35. That's probably the best one I've ever seen. That is incredible, especially over 16 professional fights. To Tybura's 3.44 absorbed per minute, which isn't even bad, but compared to 1.35 it makes it look a lot worse than it is. Getting into the grappling here, look at these numbers. 6.46 takedown average over 15 minutes at a 69% takedown accuracy for Romanov. His takedown defense being 20%, probably because he doesn't give a shit. He probably wants this. He wants you to take him down so he can wrestle the shit out of you.
Mm-hmm.
Tybura's takedown average 1.54 over 15 minutes at a 32% takedown accuracy. Although I will say Tybura's takedown defense 82%, which is significantly which is pretty good going into this, against Alexander Romanov, who obviously likes to take guys down and wrestle them. And last but not least, Alexander Romanov's submission average over 15 minutes, 1.62. Again, I think this is another one of those fights where it's pretty clear who's going to win this one. But again, all it takes is one punch, so it might not be a bad idea to lay just a couple of bucks on Marcin Tybura. But overall, I think I'm going to have to go with Alexander Romanov in this fight. What do you think, Joe Money?
I'm gonna go with Romanov as well. 16-0 in professional MMA. That's tough to, especially a guy who likes to take it to the ground. A guy that's real physical. Like it says, his Tybura's takedown defense is 82%. But if you can see the takedown average from Alexander Romanov,
Right.
It's 6 takedowns per 50. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
It's dangerous. It's gonna be a good fight because of the amazing takedown defense that Tybura has versus Alexander's takedown average. So I do think this fight's gonna go to the ground. Because such a high takedown defense, and I'm sure Alexander Romanov wants to test that, see how good that takedown defense really is. being a 16-0 fighter. I'm going to take him. I hope he gets a 17th win by submission. I think
Straight up.
I think he's probably going to put him in a mean leg lock or something.
I love it. A calf slicer. I like it. I like it. So we both agree on Alexander Romanov. Getting into the next one, a lightweight bout between Leonardo Santos, the plus 225 underdog, and Jared Flash Gordon, the minus 265 favorite. Cool story. I actually met Jared Gordon at my place of work. I work at a sensory deprivation wellness center, and Jared came in to recover before his last fight against Grant Dawson, which I'll tell you what, Grant Dawson is an absolute hound. He is a dog, and it was a close fight. Jared Gordon was in it the whole way. Dawson just completely berated him and overwhelmed him and eventually got the win. But Jared Gordon, after all that, I met him and he's cool. But
he's cool.
He's cool.
He's just cool.
But getting into it, Leonardo Santos debuted June of 2013. His fight style is jiu-jitsu, and he's got 8 wins by submission. Jared Gordon coming into this one debuted June of 2017. He is a freestyle fighter. And again, he went the distance with Grant Dawson. He got submitted in the 3rd round, I think. And I mean, it was a dogfight. So Jared Gordon's got a lot of heart, and he's a beast. So he's got 6 wins by knockout. And looking at their matchup stats, 18 wins, 6 losses, and 1 draw or no contest for Santos, and 18 wins, 5 losses for Jared Gordon. Both coming off of losses in their last fight, so they're both looking to turn that around. Looking at the significant strikes here, 2.88 landed per minute at a 47% significant strike rate for Santos, and a 5.24 at a 57% significant strike rate for Gordon. I like those numbers. Looking at his absorbed per minute, 3.2 for Gordon, 2.77 for Santos. The defense going in Santos's favor just by 1 percentile. So very close on the feet. But I mean, look at the volume of punches coming from Jared Gordon at his significant strike percentage. Very good, while being able to keep his absorbed per minute low. I like that a lot. And Leonardo Santos, his landed per minute number is not bad, 2.8 at a 40% significant strike rate. But compared to Jared Gordon's, it's significantly less. Now the takedown averages here, 1.01 over 15 minutes for Santos to Jared Gordon's 2.22 over 15 minutes. Both of their takedown accuracies pretty slim, 29% for Santos, 39% for Gordon. Although, look at the takedown defense for Santos here, 86%, which is significant. So this one's going to be very interesting. I truly believe this one's going to be, almost a coin toss, because both of these fighters are seasoned and they have experience inside the octagon. So I think this is going to be one of the better fights on the card. I'm really excited to see how this one goes. Who do you think is going to win this one, Joe?
So it is pretty evened up. This is definitely going to be a great fight. They're both around the same height, weight, both have around the same record. I don't believe it's going to be taken to the ground. They both have very high defense. I do believe this is going to be a standing fight. Jared Gordon is a bad man. I do believe he is going to knock Santos out.
I like it. And I'm going to have to agree with you there. And not because I'm biased, because I try to take all of that out of my picks just because I met the guy. But after seeing his performance against Grant Dawson in his last matchup, an absolute dogfight, never gave up, and he kept going, I think it's going to be hard for anybody to take this guy out. And I think he's going to rebound very nicely against Leonardo Santos in this one. Okay. And anything else on that one, Joe?
No, I just think Gordon's going to get it in less than 5 rounds.
Hell yeah. They're only fighting 3. Just the main event and title fights are 5 rounds. All the rest of these will be 3-round fights. Getting into the next one, we have a featherweight bout between Sean Woodson, the minus 320 favorite, and Luis Saldana, the plus 265 underdog. This one's really interesting, Joe. I'll tell you that much. And let's just get into it. Saldana debuted April of 2021. He is a striker, and he's got 9 wins by knockout, 6 first-round finishes. Sean Woodson debuted October of 2019, and he's a freestyle fighter. Looking at the matchup stats here, 9-1 record, 9 wins, 1 loss for Sean Woodson, a 16 wins, 7 losses for Lewis, both coming off of wins in their last fights. Let's look at the height differential here. Sean Woodson 6'2" coming into this one, and Luis Saldana 5'11". I know it's not that much, but still, when you look at the reach, a 5-inch reach could really make a difference here, and a 4-inch leg reach as well. So Sean Woodson is the bigger fighter here, although Luis Saldana has more experience in the octagon. Looking at the significant strikes here, 5.75 landed per minute at a 44% significant strike rate for Woodson to Luis Saldana's 4.92 and a 50% significant strike rate, which is pretty good. The absorb per minute, 3.76 for Woodson, 3.32 for Saldana. Very similar, both of these gentlemen. And the defense is going to go in Luis Saldana's favor. Now, I think those are very similar, and I think it's going to be a really good fight on the ground or on the feet. But looking at the grappling, it's almost non-existent. You see a 0.54 takedown average for Saldana, 20% takedown accuracy to Woodson's 82% takedown defense. I don't see this going to the ground. I think both of these guys are going to stand in the middle and throw the mitts, which I'm really which I'm really excited to see. How do you think this one plays out, Joe?
So you said Saldana's the one that had 7 first-round finishes?
He's got 6 first-round finishes and 9 wins by knockout.
See, that's gonna be tough. Sean Woodson's 9-1. He's on a roll right now.
Yeah.
He does have the height difference that is gonna be tough. They're same size. But Woodson's reach is maybe what's gonna get him. They keep the fight on the feet.
Yeah.
But 7 first-round finishes. That's kind of tough it's kind of tough to beat.
Straight up.
It's but it seems like his takedown defense, Woodson's takedown defense is pretty high. So what about his just defense naturally? Does it just show like defense on
the feet?
Yeah.
If you see at the bottom here, 59% defense on the feet for Woodson and a 62% defense for Saldana.
I honestly think this fight's gonna go by decision. They're evened up in a lot of their stats, especially with the significant strikes. I'm gonna have to go with Woodson.
Nice.
I think if Woodson could survive the first round from this guy, then he for sure has a chance. Because if this guy out of how many fights was it again?
Oh, he's got 9 wins by knockout, 6 first-round finishes.
Okay, so that means there was one fight that he had that didn't, totally go crazy, either with a knockout or a first-round finish. So that's one fight. That's going to be really. It's gonna be really tough, because that's a scrappy one, If you
with Lewis,
Lewis
I think he's scrappy, and he's got more experience in the octagon. He debuted after Sean Woodson in the UFC, but he's got a lot more pro fights than Woodson. Personally, Joe, I think I got to go with Luis Saldana in this one. This is my first underdog pick of the evening, and I will say everything's telling me to pick Woodson here. He's got the height advantage. He's got the reach advantage. With the grappling, he's got the takedown defense advantage. But again, I don't think it's going to the ground. But if you look at the landed per minute, 4.92. Let's just call it 5 for Luis Saldana at 50%. And he's got the absorb per minute. He's got the better defense on the feet. My intuition's just telling me Luis Saldana is going to pull an upset on this one. And I'm going to go with the underdog Luis Saldana on this one. And that is that, folks. I guess we'll have to see what happens on August 20th, Saturday, August 20th. The prelims for UFC 278 will be on ABC and ESPN Plus, so you can catch those there. That leads us into the women's flyweight bout between Miranda Maverick and Shanna Young. This one's going to be interesting, Joe. Miranda Maverick debuted June of 2020. She is a jiu-jitsu specialist, while Shanna Young debuted February of 2020, and she is an all-around mixed martial artist. Coming into this one, Maverick is 12 wins, 4 losses. Young, 9 wins, 5 losses, both coming off of wins in their last fight. While Shanna Young has the height advantage of 4 inches here, and it doesn't even follow suit in the reach. So she's the taller fighter, but the reach remains the same. Looking at the significant strikes here, 3.62 landed per minute at a 41% significant strike rate for Miranda Maverick, 3.67 landed per minute at a 51% significant strike rate for Young. Now, look at this absorb per minute, 2.69 in Maverick's favor to a 5.15 for Young. That is a lot, and it's very significant if this fight's going to stay on the feet. But let's look at the grappling numbers. 2.1 takedown average over 15 minutes at a 61% takedown accuracy. To Shanna Young's 0% takedown average to a 0% accuracy, although her defense is 60%. But I think this is going to be Miranda Maverick's strong suit here. She's going to take her to the ground, dominate her on the ground. Shanna Young obviously doesn't want it to go there. She's a stand-up fighter, and Miranda Maverick's the jiu-jitsu specialist. So I think this one goes in Miranda Maverick's favor, either by ground and pound, stoppage, or a submission win.
I'm gonna have to agree with you. I'm gonna go with Maverick as well. And if you look at the matchup stats, Miranda Maverick's leg length is insane compared to her.
Well, she's actually her leg reach is 1 inch shorter.
So the funny part is it was on my screen and it looked like it said 88 inches. I was like, what? So now that looks silly on live.
No, that's okay.
She's been,
okay.
12-4. I would take that over 9-5. And Maverick is, like you said, all jiu-jitsu specialists versus, kind of jiu-jitsu. She can kick, she can submission, all that. So
right, and at the end of the day, Shanna Young is, 4 inches taller. Although their reach is the same, she's taller. So the significant strikes, in my opinion, do go towards Maverick already. And then plus, if she can take her to the ground and finish her off down there, I think it's the perfect recipe for Miranda Maverick to notch her 13th win as a professional MMA fighter. All right. We're going with Maverick. We're riding with Maverick. Let's ride. We ride at dawn. And that has been the coverage of the prelims for UFC 278. Now we step into the early prelims starting at 6 p.m. Those will be available on the UFC Fight Pass, ESPN Plus, and anywhere else you illegally stream your fights. Now let's get into this welterweight bout between AJ Fletcher, the -150 favorite, and Loosa, the +130 underdog. A little bit about these fighters. Fletcher debuted in March of 2022. He is a striker, and he's got 6 first-round finishes, Joe. Loosa debuted in April of 2022, just a few months back, and he is a kickboxer with 5 wins by knockouts and 6 first-round finishes as well. So both of these fighters are going to come out hot, guns a-blazing. They're both coming off of losses in their last fights, so I think this makes for the perfect storm. AJ Fletcher coming into this one, 9 wins, 1 loss. Loosa, 8 wins, 3 losses. The height is very similar. The reach is going to be heavily in Loosa's favor, as well as the leg reach. Now let's look at the significant strikes here. 2.53 at a 55% significant strike rate for Fletcher, to 5.07 landed per minute at a 38% significant strike rate for Loosa. But here's the kicker: absorbed per minute, 8.3 for Loosa to AJ Fletcher's 2.53. I mean, that's not a good look. 8.3 absorbed per minute. That's probably the highest one I've seen, to Alexander's Romanov's lowest, as I mentioned earlier. So the defense on the feet is going to go heavily in AJ Fletcher's favor. If these guys are going to come out guns a-blazing, look at this. AJ Fletcher's, he's got less volume, but they're more precise. 55% of them are going to be a significant strike. So, over 1.5 is going to be a power right in the kissa. And Ange Loosa is going to be there to take him. Now look at these takedown, the grappling stats. The takedown average over 15 minutes, 4.31 in AJ Fletcher's favor to a 0.5 for Loosa. He does not want to take this to the ground. He does not want to be on the ground. Hence, Loosa's 100% takedown defense. That's pretty good. But I've got a hinkling that AJ Fletcher is going to be taking him down in this fight. He's got, if he's going to try, over 4 times, over 15 minutes at a 62% takedown accuracy, something makes me think he's going to cash in on one of those takedowns. And then his submission average, 1.72. At the end of the day, on paper, this is, in my opinion, heavily towards AJ Fletcher. The line, AJ Fletcher being the -150, Ange Loosa being the +130. The line is close, but I think this is clearly AJ Fletcher's win.
I'm gonna have to say AJ Fletcher as well. That is gonna be tough, for
Loosa.
He has a 100% takedown defense. So
That's
if
right.
AJ Fletcher can't get him on the ground, that's. But then again, AJ Fletcher, his significant strike rate is high,
And Loosa's
so
absorbed per minute is so high.
yeah. So I do believe this will be probably a 1 or 2 round fight. Gonna go to AJ Fletcher.
Oh yeah.
And I think it might stay on feet because Loosa just can't, if he gets wrapped up, his defense is 100%.
Mm-hmm.
But as you can see the takedown accuracy, if he gets taken down, Loosa might be done for.
In trouble, yeah, because he's hasn't been taken down before, so it could be new territory for him. And that leads us into our next fight between number 11 Amir AlBazi, the number 11 in the flyweight bout, and he's fighting on the early prelims, and against Francisco Figueiredo. That is a great fight. This is going to be a great fight very early on. I mean, it's kind of astonishing that they have fighters of this caliber so early on the card. But hey, let's get into it. A little bit about these fighters. Amir debuted July of 2020. He is a jiu-jitsu specialist, and he's on a 3-fight win streak coming into this fight. Also, he's the -410 favorite. I mean, these lines are bizarre this week. Francisco Figueiredo, the +330 underdog, debuted January of 2021, and he is also a jiu-jitsu specialist. He's got 8 wins by submission, so watch out if this goes to the ground. Coming into this fight, the matchup stats: 14 wins, 1 loss for Amir AlBazi, 13 wins, 4 losses, 1 draw, 1 no contest for Francisco. Both coming off of wins in their last fight. 1 inch in height going in Figueiredo's favor, and the reach similar. Getting into the significant strike numbers: 4.06 landed per minute at a 40% significant strike rate for AlBazi, 1.98 at a 60% significant strike rate for Francisco, which is not bad at all. Your 2 punches and over half of them are going to be significant. That's a good look. And his absorbed per minute is lower at 2.59 than Amir AlBazi's 3.15. The defense going in Francisco's favor there. Now, looking into the grappling numbers, which are pretty incredible when you compare the two, 2.28 takedown average over 15 minutes at a 75% takedown accuracy for AlBazi, 2.88 takedown average at a 75% takedown accuracy for Francisco. The takedown defense going to be the only thing that really puts this in Francisco's favor at 82%. This matchup is really, really interesting. This is a great fight, Joe. What do you see so far?
So I'm seeing it's definitely going to be a dogfight. Everything's evened up. The takedown accuracy and even the defense isn't too far off. If you want to go back to that significant strikes.
Yeah.
So the landed per minute, the 1.8 is going to be hard, but with the whole grappling stats, that's they both have great takedowns, great takedown defense. So I think this fight will end on the ground. I'm gonna choose Francisco.
Nice. Okay.
I think he's not really more of a stand-up, but he's more of a takedown. And I think if he gets AlBazi to the ground, it's over with.
Interesting. That's a good pick. Because after really getting into these numbers and whatnot, I can understand where you're coming from. And at the end of the day, both these fighters, it is going to be a dogfight. You better have the heart coming into this one. Wow. It's so close. It's just so close. But personally, I'm going to have to go with Amir AlBazi on this one, the minus 410 favorite. Joe Money's going to take Francisco Figueiredo. And honestly, again, this is MMA. One fight could change the entire way everything plays out. So never count anybody out is my thing. So enough on that flyweight bout. I guess we're going to see who has the better intuition when the time comes. And that leads us into a bantamweight bout between Jay Perrin, the plus 145 underdog, and Ewelling, the minus 170 favorite. A little bit about these fighters. Ewelling debuted April of 2021. He's got 7 first-round finishes and 7 knockouts. Jay Perrin debuted February of 2022. He's got a karate background, and he's got 4 wins by submission. So what I'm seeing from that is he's very well-rounded. Coming into this one, 23 wins, 11 losses for Ewelling, 10 wins, 5 losses for Jay Perrin. Perrin coming off of a loss in his last fight, while Ewelling a win. The height is similar and reach similar. Getting into the significant strike, 6.65 landed per minute at a 46% significant strike rate for Ewelling. Although his absorbed per minute is troubling here, 7.77. That's very high compared to Jay Perrin's 2.83 landed per minute at a 41% significant strike rate, and his absorbed per minute much lower at 3.7. The significant strikes it can be deceiving because Ewelling's volume at 6.65 is so much, and at a good number, 46%, but the absorbed per minute is just so difficult for me to get behind. Looking at the grappling here, 2.29 takedown average to Jay Perrin's 3. That's what I like to see. Three takedowns over 15 minutes at a 60% accuracy for Jay Perrin, 62% accuracy for Ewelling. And the takedown defense, dead even at 54. What do you think about these two fighters, Joe?
Ewelling, he has, we go back to the experience, from 2021, man, 35, is that 35 fights? 34?
Yeah, 34, but he debuted in the UFC in 2021. He's been professional fighting for much longer.
So the experience is where that comes in. They're both obviously good on the ground, pretty evened up. Ewelling with them, I don't know if you said 7 or 8 first round finishes.
7, yeah.
So 7 first round finishes, and Jay, that's only That's only 3 less than how many Jay Perrin has won. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's I'm gonna go with Eric Ewelling. With a knockout.
You're right. And I think this is going to be a very close fight. And, believe it or not, Eric Ewelling, see those numbers, 23 wins, 11 losses, and he's actually a year younger than Jay Perrin. He's been professional fighting for a lot more time than Jay Perrin has. Nothing on Jay Perrin, but I think this goes to Eric Ewelling, and I think this is going to be a great fight. I think this is going to be a dog fight and one to certainly look forward to. Leading us to the very first fight of UFC 278 in the early prelims, starting at 6 p.m., you will see Daniel da Silva versus Victor Altamirano. Now, this one's interesting. The line is, we don't have any line on them so far, but a little bit about them. Daniel da Silva debuted October of 2021, and he is a striker with 10 first-round finishes, Joe. Now, look at his record, 11-3, and he's got 10 first-round finishes. So what does that tell you? He's fucking explosive.
He's a dog. Yes,
yes. Victor Altamirano debuted February of 2022, and he is a striker as well, but he's got 4 wins by submission. So that tells me he's a little bit more well-rounded. Looking at this one here, I mean, look, Victor is 1-1 in professional MMA. 1-1. You know what I mean? Like, that's not just in the UFC, that's overall.
That's a brand new fighter.
Yes, that's brand new fighter. And there's nothing wrong with that. Both of these fighters coming off of losses. The height going to be in Victor's favor by 2 inches, and the reach dead even at 70. Getting into the significant strike numbers here, 3.4 landed per minute at a 77% significant strike rate for da Silva, 5.97, let's call it 6 landed per minute for Victor at a significant strike rate of 57 over half. Now, the absorbed per minute is high for both of these guys. That's why I think that it's going to be a fucking firefight. They're just going to be throwing the mitts. 7.36 makes me uncomfortable for Daniel da Silva, 5.23 for Victor. But at that rate, when it's already so high, I don't even think it matters. But look at this defense percentage for Daniel da Silva, 22% defense on the feet. That's worrisome. Now, the grappling numbers, 2.12 takedown average over 15 minutes at a 33% takedown accuracy for da Silva to Victor's 2.5 takedown average at a 41% takedown accuracy. Now, look at this. There's a 0% takedown defense for da Silva to Victor's 72% takedown defense. So I do think Victor Altamirano has the advantage in the grappling. I think if da Silva tries to lock up with him and take him to the ground, it's going to be in Victor's favor. But significant strikes, I mean, the output is still in Victor Altamirano's favor. You look at da Silva's his last couple fights. He's had 3 fights in the UFC, and he's lost both of them. So, he's 11-1 coming into the UFC. Since being in the UFC, he's lost both of his fights. He's 11-3, and not only has he lost both of his fights in the UFC, he's got knocked out in the second round in his first UFC fight, and then submitted in the first round of his last fight. So who knows? His record can be deceiving, Daniel da Silva. I mean, you could be fighting bums on the regional scene. That doesn't mean anything, but it still counts as a professional MMA fight. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that could be deceiving. And as soon as he gets to the big leagues, the UFC, he's lost both of his fights. So this one's really interesting. I think it could be a dogfight, and I think it could go really a coin flip, although da Silva has some pretty good numbers. But when it comes down to this, when I look at the numbers, it's the grappling is in Victor's favor, and then you look at the significant strikes. He's got more volume at a high significant strike rate, but a lower absorbed per minute. Now, da Silva's landed per minute is great at 3.4, 77% significant strike rate, but his absorbed per minute is just so high, and his defense is so bad that, again, one punch could end it all. And I think that's where he's still developing. He's still a young guy. So I think that's where his downfall is that he still has a lot to learn. He's only 26 compared to Victor. Victor is 31 coming into this fight. So I think time is on Victor's side, the experience here. And I'm going to have to go with Victor Altamirano for this first fight.
So I'm going to go with Silva, and I'm going to tell you why.
All right.
10 first-round finishes out of 11 wins.
That's true.
This guy, and especially with a loss coming in, this guy is going to come out swinging. I don't think he's going to take it to the ground. I don't think it's going to be – he's going to come out looking for blood. First round. He's going to try to knock Victor out first 2 rounds, easy. Victor, he better with the grappling and takedown defense and everything, but I don't believe Silva is going to try to take him down. I believe, he's going to try to end it early.
Well, the thing is it's not Silva who's trying to take him down. De Silva has 0 takedown defense, and Victor has a 2.5 takedown average with a 41% takedown accuracy.
Like I said, I do believe the fight is going to stay. If Victor does get him to the ground, that might be a little, but 7.3 absorbed, it means he does take a lot more punches, and it seems like he has a tougher body for having, an 11-3 record.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. And like coming back to the 10 first round finishes, that's just not luck. You know what I mean?
You're right about that.
That takes somebody coming out and trying to get it done early. So I am gonna go with Silva on this one. Best of luck to both fighters though.
Hell yeah, man.
Hope best of luck to all fighters, even on the ones we disagreed with, or agreed with. This card, definitely is going to be a good one. I see a lot of even up matches. I personally don't watch the UFC as much as I should, but from me sitting here and talking to you and explaining, I do see a lot of great fights and hope I can see more Saturday.
Hell yeah! So, do you think being on this show is going to push you to watch more UFC? Are you going to be more invested?
It definitely will, because the fact, one of my best friends, for I couldn't even say how many years, has taken an interest. And, if you're a real friend, you would want to step to your other friends' type of interest, break it down, especially if you see how passionate they are about it. And, you've helped me a lot. I didn't know what it came with all this stuff. You could bet on fights, but, when you really break it down, do the takedown defense and the punches landed per minute, that really is a lot to look into. And
100%.
This is all new for me, and I'm glad I got to, hop on here and experience everything, and hearing you explain, the ins and outs, basically.
Exactly. And I've preached since the beginning of Throwin Mitts. This show isn't about people who've been watching it for 40 years, people who know everything about it. It's for those people, and it's also for the newcomers. It's also for the people who want to get into it, who want to know more about it. Let's all do it together and have some fun while doing it. And I will say, Joe, you said you didn't know it came with all of these numbers and all of these things you can look into. Well, it makes the difference, because just in the last event, I went 7-4, and there was one draw, and that took my overall. I've been doing this for 1 month. I think this is my fourth Throwin Mitts video, maybe 4 or 5. I don't remember, but my overall record for picking fights has now come to 34 wins, 14 losses. So I've picked 34 winners to win, and 14 guys I picked lost. So, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. That's a 70% winning average. So, pretty soon people are going to have to start, seeing that,
And no, it's definitely impressive, especially, you coming on the scene and, being new,
Yeah.
This is like you said, this show only has 4 or 5 episodes, and you have over a 70% winning rate. you know, that's like you said, people do need to recognize that. Real recognize real, you know. And I know the real I know the real UFC fans, you know, will appreciate, you know, just you sitting there and explaining everything, breaking down the fights, because there's not a lot of people that know the ins and outs of UFC, you know, especially like I said, myself, and people coming on this podcast, like again, myself, and learning about, you know, stats and, you know, win-loss average, you know, like what type of events are they headlining, or have they ever headlined an event, you know?
Yeah.
Just stuff like that, you know, and I never realized how much more it is to it, but like I said, you learn every day. Yeah, it's been really good to be on here.
Yeah, dude, this was incredible. And you know, if you guys can see the logo up here, it says Throwin Mitts with Ryan Moget plus friends. I want to bring a lot more people on here. I want to have fun. Joe, we're definitely going to see you on here again, because I'll tell you what, this has been so much fun for someone who's kind of been following and kind of has some knowledge, to someone who has less knowledge but is still into it. And I've been able to conversate with you, and honestly, dude, this was a lot of fun. So thank you so much for spending some time with me on here today. And everybody out there listening, thank you so much for making it this far, an hour and 10 in. And if you really like what we're doing, like I said, like, comment, subscribe. It means a lot to us and building this community within the UFC. Follow us on Twitter, Mitts_Throne. And thanks, bro. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you for having me on here, man. It means a lot. Hope I can come on here soon.
Hell yeah. All right. Peace out, everybody.
All right, brother.